So, you ready to transform your life? You ready to have it be completely different? Not completely. Some of it's working, right? Something's got to be working, right? But are you willing to have an experience of your freedom and power? Okay, then I'm glad you're here today. We're working with some simple agreements, the 4 agreements. Powerful book, changed my life. Today, don't take anything personally. Now, why is that important? Now, I only can speak from my own experience, and which is what I tend to do. But here's what I learned. I used to take everything personally. Everything. And then I couldn't figure out why I was exhausted by ministry. You know, I remember one time, this was when I was still a complete codependent nightmare, and thinking, there's this wonderful couple, and gosh, I haven't seen them. And so I was convinced that it must be about me. I'd either said something or didn't say something or did something or didn't do something. So after an extended period of time, they showed up one Sunday and goes, "Oh, I missed you. How have you been?" "Great. We just returned from Europe. We had the most amazing trip ever." What do you mean? You know, and then I want to be mad at them because I just wasted a month of my life trying to figure out why they didn't love me, you know? So then I really had something to be justified in my upset. Isn't it amazing? Is it not amazing what we take on as ours? Now here's the test. Here's the test. Here's how you know if you have evolved as a soul. I think it all comes down to, how are you in the car? Right? Driving along the freeway, somebody cuts you off. What is the story we begin to tell about that person, whom we've never met, by the way? Right? Why did they do this to me? And then it occurs to me how much of the time I'm driving along, cutting people off and having no idea I'm doing it. You know, I'm listening to the radio. I'm listening to Alicia McGovern singing away with her. You know, who knows what's happening behind me? I have nothing against anyone that's around me, right? And they're like, "That guy, he got up this morning to cut me off. I'm gonna honk at him or something, you know." So, freedom. The whole core of this book is really about experience our own spiritual and personal freedom. And the way we get free in the world is to recognize the world is all here. You know, isn't it wonderful to think that the world is out there, that the perception of reality that I hold is happening all around me. And so I see this and I experience that and I say this. But the truth is everything happens in here. That this thing called reality is only, is our perception of reality defines reality. And so when we are experiencing life as happening to us, then we take it very personally. I remember one time years ago, Michael Beckwith said to me, when you learn not to care, he used more colorful language, but I'm trying to make this appropriate for church. When you learn not to care what others think of you, good or bad, you'll know you'll have arrived. You see, because we're all happy to have everybody love us. Oh, will you support me? Oh, do you see my magnificence? Oh, I love you because you can see something in me. And then somebody wants to come and criticize us. Oh, you do not want to go there, right? And yet our freedom then is still dependent upon somebody else's perception of reality. So Don Miguel Ruiz says to us that when we begin to understand that we're always in a dream state, we tend to think of dreaming as something that happens when we're asleep. But he's suggesting to us we're always in a dream state, and in the waking state of our dreaming, we think that's real. And so we're all co-creating reality in this state of being. And because well-intentioned people have shared with us their version of reality, and then we moved into agreement with that version of reality, we're dreaming a dream, or we're dreaming a nightmare. Don Miguel Ruiz puts forth a very powerful idea when he says that in this dreamlike state, when we're young and innocent, we're just open and receptive to the big people sharing with us what is reality. And so as we've got a little baby here, we have a new baby that's arrived, we've got all these little young people, and we're so excited to share with them information. And I always love how adults are around babies. We just completely forget ourselves. We're like, we do, things that would not be appropriate in any other context, right? And it's wonderful. And so it's exciting because at some point the young child realizes those sounds that they're making mean something. And I'm going to try and do that. And with the grand, glorious day when they say mama or papa, they don't really say that, but that's what we hear. And that's good enough for us, right? And we're like, oh my God, they said papa. And then we begin a process and we start sharing with them how you use these words so that we can communicate. And over time, they're learning, aha. It's a fascinating thing when you go to different parts of the country. People speak differently. They're speaking English, but in the South, it sounds different from in the Northeast than from California, right? And so why is that? Well, because the big people spoke that way. And the little people do what the big people do. And so if you grow up in the South, your version of English is just a little different from the person that grew up in California, from the person that grew up in New York. Because we watch and we learn from the big people about what is reality. Likewise, we're also learning about this dreamlike state that our big people are experiencing. And they're sharing with us the nature of reality. We all grew up in homes where the big people said, here's what you should know about money. There's always more than enough. It will flow easily and effortlessly to you. That money is the great source of joy and power in our lives, and that as you give, so shall you receive. So give generously of all that you have. Right? We all grew up in that house, right? Or some other version of reality. But we didn't know any better, so we said, okay, well, these are the same people that taught me how to talk. They must know. So I will join them. I'll be in agreement with them. And now I will form, because reality doesn't exist out there, right? It exists in here. And so now I will dream into being a state of reality that fits my current agreements. Breathe. It's okay. Breathe. In fact, and it's not, sometimes we want to blame people. Oh, I can't believe they did that. Sometimes people say these well-meaning things like, I'm only going to tell you this for your own good. And pretty much everything that follows that statement is not for your good, right? I'm just telling you this for your own good. You'll never amount to nothing. Thank you. But we agreed to it. Here's where our power lies, when we realize that something was not done to us, but rather we moved into an agreement with a state of awareness and a state of being and a state of understanding. So our power lies when we change our agreements. If what's happening in your mind that is reflected in the world is not what you want it to be, guess what? Change your mind. So, today, because we're going to transform our lives, we're going to talk about the key, one of the keys. Don't take anything personally. Quiet in here. You're thinking about this. Anything? Nothing. The test for how you're doing. always comes in your car. Right? This is how we judge our spiritual growth and awareness. It's one thing on Sunday morning to be with all the like-minded friends who love you and support you and say, I'm so enlightened. It's another to get on the freeway at rush hour. And the person that cuts you off, and you expand your vocabulary quickly to describe this person and their mother. And we just went from this powerful specimen of life to this victim of reality because we know, it's very clear, they got up this morning with one intention, and that was to find us on the freeway and cut us off, right? I know, it's not pretty, is it? Luckily, you're the only one in the car, you know? So, what if we didn't take it personally? Now, I always think it's kind of funny because in the meantime, while you're all mad at this guy, who knows how many people you've just cut off and you're not even aware of it, right? Right? We don't set out in the morning and say, oh, who can I mess with their life today, right? We're just driving, we're listening to Alicia McGovern on our thing, singing along, having a life, and we just change lanes, you know? So, from a person who used to take everything personally, I want to testify this morning. Back when I was a codependent nightmare, I believed everything was personal. I believed that my worth was dependent upon your opinion of me. Yes. And so, now I know I'm the only one that ever has done this, but I'm going to share anyways, in hopes that you might run across someone someday that you could share this information with. Because I wanted my worth, my sense of self, my sense of power lied with how you felt about me, right? And so then when I had a conversation with somebody, I had to figure out not only what you were saying, but what I thought you wanted to hear from me so I could rephrase my answer to your question in such a way that you would still love me. And sometimes you did, and sometimes you didn't. Very confusing. A lot of work. Oh my God, it's a lot of work. So as a codependent nightmare, I said, what should I do with my life? I'll go be a minister with lots of people that I can try and figure this out. And at some point in my ministry, I couldn't figure out why ministry was so exhausting. When I was trying to figure out how to be that person for 200 people. And some of you have very different opinions from each other, so that even complicates it further. And then I think I may have read a book, maybe even this book. And it said, don't take anything personally. Huh? I mean, it's like, that can't be a chapter. What does that mean, right? But what if it's not about me? And so the inward journey became, what if I'm dreaming a reality into being, and I'm making it up by the agreements that I have engaged in? What if I stopped worrying about you, I'm talking to you figuratively, and started worrying about what was happening in my own mind? And therein lies our power. For when we are willing to be 100% responsible for ourselves, and only for ourselves, for our thoughts, our words, our actions, our reactions, our response to what is happening around us, all of that lives here. What happens around me is not my responsibility. So here's the grand paradox. In Science of Mind, we often teach that you are responsible for your reality. And so sometimes we want to have this overdeveloped sense of this, And we think everything that's happening in the world, oh my God, there was a tsunami in Japan. Powerful or what? I mean, if I'm responsible for my reality, right, and that happened, right? That's a mistake. What I'm responsible for is what's happening here, not here. So it's a wonderful paradox that it's all about me and it's not about me. What's all about me is what's happening in my own mind, in my own consciousness, and it turns out it's the only place that I have any power. I always love it when very often someone will come up after service and say, "Oh my God, your talk was so amazing today. I just wish my husband would have been here to hear it. He really needs to hear this." Or my wife, or my significant other, or my spousal unit, or my dog. I don't know. It doesn't matter. And I always want to say, did you hear it? Maybe the reason you have the clarity about what other people need may be a reflection of what we need. Somebody recently said to me in a workshop, oh my God, I just wish our whole congregation understood this. I said, do you understand this? You see, because if you understand spiritual truth, see, I think of the great master in Jesus' ministry, he didn't go around saying, you need to get this. You know, your lives are really going to work when you get this. So here's the book, here's the thing. He said, he that has seen me has seen the Father. And he lived in a state of consciousness, a state of grace that resonated with his oneness with the divine. And so people's lives were healed by his atmosphere, right? When we begin to move into a new agreement with reality, when we begin to dream a new dream into existence, we begin to live from that state of freedom and power. And if I'm no longer concerned with what you think, how you feel, then I can do the real work where I have power. Now, this is not to say we're going to be inconsiderate beings. Absolutely not. Just the opposite actually happens. I remember years ago, Michael Beckwith said to me one time, when you learn, he used colorful language, which I will not repeat because we are in church. When you learn not to care what others think about you, good or bad, you'll know you're arriving. Good or bad. You see, we love it when people are perceptive enough to recognize our gifts and talents and abilities, right? I was joking with some people. They said, I just love how you, your energy and how you do this. And I said, I know, you're very perceptive, right? So, wasn't the right response, right? Of course. You're so perceptive. I mean, you see the gift that I am. Well, of course you're perceptive. You see my dark side, you got to go, right? I mean, that's kind of what we're doing with life. We're saying, if you will love me, you can be part of my life. If you don't, now we have to be enemies and all that sort of thing. So when we begin to realize what matters is not that I will be responsible for you, not that I will be responsible for your choices, not that I will try and control your life. What matters is, am I willing to be 100% responsible for what's happening here in my consciousness? Am I willing to do my inner work? Am I willing to take responsibility and show up as my authentic self? Now, I wish somebody had explained this to me earlier on, but you know what? Once I started being more authentic, I began to experience more authentic love in my life because it gave permission for others to be authentic. And then we could do some things differently. Now, when we are clear who we are and we're not taking things personally, guess what? You can ask for anything. Because what are people going to do? They're going to say yes or they're going to say no. Sometimes we're so afraid to hear no. Oh my God, if you said no to me, I'd be rejected, and then I'd feel terrible, and then my life would fall apart. I know a woman who got married because she didn't know how to say no. The guy asked. By the way, I'm not talking about anybody in the room that I know of. Those of us who have been in, I don't know what it is about metaphysics, but it seems like we need at least 2 or 3 marriages to get it kind of right, you know? So that's usually the first one, you know, even before we go, oh, I could have said no? Really? Who knew? I guess I'll marry you, you ask, and if the only answer is yes. But when we can say no, when we can hear no, we can ask for anything. Anything. We can be outrageous. I learned my big lesson in ministry. Once I got beyond that, in fact, at one point I made an announcement to the congregation, and I said, here's the deal. I'm not going to take it personally unless you tell me otherwise. And the reason I came to this, because when I was still a codependent nightmare, then I thought everybody came to church or didn't come to church because of me. And I remember there was this lovely couple. They'd been coming fairly regularly, and they were wonderful, and they really seemed to enjoy themselves, and then they stopped coming. And so for about a month, I was like, God, what did I do? What did I say? What didn't I say? What didn't I do? And then one day they came back to church, and I was like, oh, it's so good to see you. They said, oh, I know, we've missed you. We just had the most amazing trip to Europe. Now I was really mad. Because they just took a month of my life away. Oh, it's so embarrassing to be this transparent. But, right? We make up all of these decisions and we dream this dream of what is real, and it has no basis in reality. So I said, you know what, here's the deal. I'm not going to take it personally unless you tell me otherwise. If you don't come to church, I'm assuming because you're choosing not to come to church. If there's something more we need to know, talk to us. We have in our statement, our membership statement, a wonderful line that I adore that says, I, you, whoever the member is, choose to take responsibility to get my needs, spiritual or otherwise, met. It's not up to us to know why you're not here. Unless you want us to know, and then you've got to tell us, right? Think about this. We spend so much time and energy in trying to figure out how others should be, what they should know, what we should know about them, what they're thinking, what we need to say so that they'll like us and hope we get it right at the right time, right? Oh, it's exhausting. So I said, well, I'll take a master's course in that. I'll become a minister. I won't just do codependency with one person. I'll do it with hundreds. Again, couldn't figure out why ministry was so exhausting. Well, hello. Now, here it is. My preference is that you love me, but you're entitled to your own wrong opinion. Right? If you don't have the consciousness to appreciate what's happening in front of you, it's so good. Here's the deal. When I had that healing, then ministry changed for me. Because up until that time, if you think that you have to control everything, part of codependency is just trying to control other people. They need to hear this. Everybody needs to be here. And so what I did in ministry was, here's what I said. I said, come on down. Come and play with us. We are invited. And oddly enough, people got this mixed message when my words were very clear. So I said, well, I've got to do this differently. Come on down. And now I just say, come on down. Come play. Come be part of this. If you want to be around an amazing group of people that are all doing their work, where we're having authentic, loving conversations, where we're choosing to recognize our own spiritual power, and we're choosing to live from that place. And sometimes we get it right, and sometimes we get it wrong, and sometimes we just grow up all over each other. But if you want to be part of that, come on down. Come to the Center for Spiritual Living. So it's a very exciting thing, and it starts with us learning to not take anything personally. Taking full responsibility for what's happening here, releasing responsibility for everything that's happening around us. The amazing thing is, as we do that inner work, the outer changes of its own accord. Go figure. All those years, all that effort trying to get everything else out there to be different so I could be at peace, changed when I realized I could be at peace and everything out there can happen. It's a good thing. So here's what I would have you know. Here's how the process works. You start with a new intention. You start with intention. The power of our mind is through the power of intention. You say, I will no longer take things personally, or I choose to live an abundant life. And then you follow your intention with your attention. Where do you place your awareness? Sometimes people will say, I'm choosing to live a more powerful and abundant life. And then they put their attention on what's missing and what's wrong, and they watch the news and they listen to, oh my God, do you know what's happening to the Dow Industrial? And you have all the conditions. Somebody says, oh, there's a recession. Oh, I better join that. I better agree with that. It's in the news. It's on the internet. Everything's true on the internet, right? So we set the intention, and then we move our attention to that which is in alignment. There's amazing books, there's amazing courses, there's amazing things that teach the power of living the abundant life and how you do it. And then, you knew there was going to be a catch, then you take action. I know. Oh, so good. It was so good when I was with you, right? Then you take action. Following your intention, your attention, then you move into action and doing the things that support the intention and the action, and then rinse and repeat. Do it over and over and over and over, right? And that's how you transform your life from where it is now to the reality that you want to dream. The new dream that you want to dream is at your power because it all lives here. Cool, huh? So here's what I would have you know. Wherever you are on this journey, you are loved, you are supported, you are fully nurtured in being that highest, spiritually authentic self. It's who we are. We're glad you're here. Come on down. Let us pray. As we simply take this moment to join in the awareness that there is one life, one power, one infinite being, and that this one life delights in its self-expression. It delights in its revelation and its realization of itself through us. So we open our hearts and our minds in this moment to recognize that the universe is indeed always conspiring for our highest good. That this universal loving intelligence seeks to know itself more fully, always stretching for its highest experience and its highest expression. So we open our hearts to the presence of unconditional love, for that is what it is. We open our minds to divine wisdom. We know that there is no separation between thou and I and thou. But simply thou is expressing itself through me right here, right now. That in this moment we make a new agreement. We make an agreement with abundance, saying, yes, express joyously, fully through me now. Joyously I give, joyously I receive of the full bounty of life. We make a new agreement with love. unconditional healing presence that heals and transforms our life. We release and forgive anything that no longer supports our highest expression. We choose to take full responsibility for our response to life. We lovingly and generously lift each other up into that higher self-acceptance, to live from that state of grace. We allow ourselves to make a new agreement with wholeness, allowing that wholeness to express itself through health, through well-being, through vitality. For we did not create our lives. We are simply the extension of life knowing itself. And so how good it is to stand in this awareness of the ever-present reality of the divine spirit. And we make a new agreement with that highest possibility, with that highest potential that is seeking its expression here and now. This is the truth that I know. This is the truth that I accept. This is the truth that I announce and proclaim. And to this agreement, we say yes. Yes within our own being, allowing the divine to make itself known in new and powerful ways. We are so blessed. So we give thanks. We bless this day. We bless this spiritual community. We know that it unfolds joyously and lovingly and perfectly and abundantly. We bless our planet and all of its inhabitants. We bless our brothers and sisters, accepting a world that works for everyone. As always, we bless all priests, rabbis, ministers, teachers of every faith, for we understand there are many pathways to the divine. And wherever more of the divine is being realized and experienced, we call it good. We bless it. How good it is to be in the state of oneness and to recognize the new reality that we co-create together. And so in joy and gratitude, I'm simply releasing this word into the law of mind, allowing it to come forth in perfect timing and in divine right order. And so it is with joy and gratitude that I simply release the word as together we say, and so it is.